real world things is happening. We had internet outages that allegedly was just internet outages. We ain't got to get into it. We didn't had now the president of the United States dropping out of the race 4 months from now. We didn't got there's a lot just happening in life right now. Life is lifing. My only question to you two is, if this is only wrestling, what is the equivalent of Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential race 4 months before election season?
That's a great question. I could take this a couple of different ways if I want to go funny with it. If I'm trying to just
let's go
be
funny.
as close as possible.
I'm not serious about anything today.
So the exact question is, what is the wrestling parallel to Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential race at this time?
Yep.
We'll get to it. But Bobby Lashley being dropped from WWE.
Not even close. And you laughing like it's funny. That was you are horrible sometimes, man. Like the shit you think is funny. Look at you. You still laughing.
Oh my God.
I can promise you nobody's listening to this laugh.
It's so funny.
But as long as you know what? God
bless.
But
I laughed.
Yeah, I know that's right.
In my heart.
Okay, great. E, what is the equivalent, sir, of Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential race with 4 months left?
Hey, real quick, I just love doing this show because, first of all, Matt and I, we text every day, but we didn't talk every day. So it's awesome. I get to talk to my man, see him in person twice a week. And then Rhodesia, I get to learn so much about my sister. It's so many things about her I didn't know until I started doing this show. And a lot of it is just her sense of humor, right? Because we can crack a joke and she'll straight face those jokes, right? And with just say laugh out loud, but with a straight face. But we can totally be not in on the joke, and she's rolling, right? About to cry over there. I have no idea what's going on, right? And unfortunately, I don't trust that I will laugh as much as she is. But I love that she's happy about it. That's a good question, man. I started the first thing though. I don't even know if that's the Joe Biden dropping out, because I don't want to get into a political thing. I don't think it's maybe that bad, but it's interesting. But maybe Vince, stepping down from creative, right? This is something that's, it's like a big deal, right? And things are going to change, right? So maybe
that's probably the closest thing.
Yeah.
I was going to actually go with, if they would have went with this alleged Cody Rhodes wins the Royal Rumble and then passes off his title shot to The Rock and everything went as planned.
That's
dude, you're halfway there. Now, granted, Sleepy Joe, and shout out to Sleepy Joe. He did fantastic. He's just old. Hopefully his health is okay, but he ain't looking the best. He ain't sounding the best. It's time for him to go. So it wasn't time for Cody to, concede, but that would be about what it is for me. It's like, man, you put all that work in, you went this entire year, you won the Rumble, and then you hand off your title shot to The Rock. That's what it would have been.
So how is that any different than what I said? So Bobby Lashley, they've been pushing this dude super hard. He's up until the last couple months, pushing him super hard. All of a sudden, we find out that his contract is coming up, and he's pulled from WWE.
They haven't pushed Bobby Lashley in 2 years.
I'm just every time I've seen Bobby Lashley on my TV screen, it's always some
Bobby Lashley on your TV screen.
Spectacle that I'm seeing with Bobby Lashley. So they make it a super
I keep
big
telling
spectacle.
Her she does not watch wrestling, man. Wrestling watches her. And then she gets upset every time when she's not paying attention.
Every time.
And I make a comment.
You can ask me any question about wrestling.
Pay attention
and
to the show.
I know the answer to all of them. Ask me a question.
She'll say, why are you like that? Why do you say that every time? Because you're not paying attention to the show. And then you're going to come on the show and say something stupid. And then we got to cover for you. That's why.
I don't say anything stupid. I say what is on my mind. Okay, so that is what's on my mind. And if someone interprets that as they're stupid, then so be it. That's for them.
God bless.
But I don't speak stupidities out of my mouth, okay?
All right. It didn't take you long to come up with a word. So we'll keep right past that. Hey, That's Freaking Wrestling. This is episode 152. We are 3 the hard way. You guys know that. I am Matt, joined by these beautiful folks here, Eshaun and Rhodesia. We are the best kept secret in wrestling podcast, and we will probably continue to be the best kept secret in wrestling podcast until we are the best wrestling podcast. You know how we become the best wrestling podcast? It is you guys spreading the word on how much you enjoy our content, how much you enjoy us each and every week, twice a week. Continue to do that. So I don't have, I ain't got nothing. And when I say I ain't got nothing, like typically we got like a main thing we're gonna talk about in the show. Right, that's gonna start like block A, and then okay, what other topics we got? I just got home from work like 20 minutes ago. I'm tired, but not tired like I can't bring it on the pod or I can't bring it in life. But you know how like I'm at the age now that I realize I have to start taking naps.
Mm-hmm.
Rhodesia's been there.
Mm-hmm. Since I came out of my mama's womb, I've been taking naps.
Wasn't it. I was like, no, I'm going to just go. I am still trying to bounce back from last Wednesday night. We got, so we upgraded. So long story short, I'll try to keep it quick because it's not really wrestling related. You guys know I'm a big tech person. So I'm looking at our TV we had a LG OLED like in our living room. And like, it's not looking right. At first I thought it was just like the signal. We watching UFC, watching WWE. I'm like, man, like something just looks off, but I don't say anything to nobody because whatever. It could just be my eyes. Find out the panel's going bad. All right, now I know, okay, now we got to replace the panel. So now I'm thinking like, all right, I got a 65-inch television that I use only for gaming that we had in the basement. And I'm like, okay, well, I can move that upstairs or I can just buy another television for the living room. So that takes me down a whole nother rabbit hole. And yeah, I didn't even share this story with you. So now I'm like, all right, if I'm going to spend money, I should probably upgrade, quote unquote, what I use the most, which is probably our home theater area that we have in our house. So I had a 135-inch projector, Sony projector. And I'm like, all right, what if I look at like the biggest TV that I can purchase that is a normal person's price tag? So they got TVs out there that's like $25,000, $30,000. Of course, ain't nobody doing that. So I find a Hisense 100-inch TV. And I was like, okay. I think it was on sale for $2,900. I was like, all right, do I go with the 100-inch, $2,900, or do I go with like another 65, 70-inch that's going to cost me $1,500 to $2,000? So then we decided to say, all right, you know what? Let's put the 100-inch in the theater. So yeah, I'm losing, 35, a third of the size, but I'm gonna pick up clarity and high definition, all that kind of stuff, or HDR. Looks fantastic. But so we get that installed on Tuesday. Guys take forever to come. So anybody knows Rhodesia and I, like, we get some, we got to do it. So we get it installed. Now we got to do the rest of the theater. Now I got to recalibrate. We moving chairs. We doing all this thing, right? We doing all that. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, we podcast, and Rhodesia and I hung out, and I think we went to sleep at like 4:30 that night. She takes Thursday off. I may be mixing up
Thursday
some of these
took
days.
off of me.
There you go. Yep. I haven't recovered yet from that 4 a.m. night. I've gotten great sleep. I think last night I got 7.5 hours. 2 nights ago I got like 8.5 hours, 9 hours. Point is, I'm a little tired, and I ain't got nothing. So I'm here to argue. I'm here to laugh. I'm here to debate if there's anything to debate, but you ain't getting nothing like, we ain't deep diving a damn thing on this podcast. So if you're looking for like any deep dives, it may be deep diving what we're talking about, but we're not going over no specific matches from SmackDown and giving you the real on that. We're here to have a conversation, and we got some good conversation to have. But before we get into, I guess, really part 2 of the last podcast, E left us with a fantastic question. So we're going to hit that. And then our boy Brandon sent us a question too, which is perfect onto that too. So we'll hit that. But what y'all got before we get to that?
And you know what? Right before we get started, we need to, out of the society today, we're going to start having production meetings before we air these podcasts. Because number one, we don't talk about our content. Our content is great no matter what it is, no matter the topic in the day. That's number one. Number two, people don't want to hear about rich people problems, okay? I don't want to hear about y'all 200-inch screen and y'all downgrading to 100-inch screen and y'all decided to stay up to 4:30 in the morning because y'all wanted to calibrate. See, nobody want to hear that shit. We got to start having some...
No, I was calibrating something else that night until 4 o'clock. It wasn't the TV, buddy. You know what I'm saying?
Now, see, that, there it is. Now, if y'all want to lead with that nasty talk, because I guess some people like that. I don't. I'm turning my back. To me, this is my brother and my sister. I don't want to hear about y'all having incest. I'm good on all that, okay? But we need to have some production meetings on these I don't want to hear about your rich people problems. I want to talk about this great wrestling. Let's get into that question.
Ain't you the person just came off vacation?
Hey, I had to save all my life for that vacation.
It don't. Hey, no, okay? You did.
I had to save all my life about this pass.
Ain't you the same person that came on the podcast, and talked about you got the easy pass, so you ain't had to stand in line? That was you, right?
That is true. That was you, right? For a family of 4.
That was you, right?
That's rich people.
I also didn't follow up and found out. See, now this is what the people. This is what we can relate to. So yeah, I thought I had a good deal from work to go on the easy pass. Just to find out, you also have to get an entry pass to Universal, right? Oh, and the entry level, entry pass was like another $150. So you're talking about spending almost $1,000 for 4 people to get the speed pass, but then you got to spend another $500 on top of that to actually get into the. So I declined all that. So we didn't do that. You understand? So that's the problems you got when you spend your whole life's income to get to Florida for a week and find out you ain't got enough. So. That's what people can relate to, not the 1,000-inch screens that you got downgraded to a 1,500-inch screen. And I decided to stay up to 4:30 in the morning to make love to my sister, and then I decided to call off work the next day because I'm so tired. And here it is Thursday. Woo!
This man went to 4 WrestleManias in a row talking about his life savings. You ain't going to WrestleMania for free, sir.
And let's be completely honest here. Just because we've changed and upgraded our system, we didn't mention how long we had the last television, how many years we've had it. So it may sound like, okay, we got like upgraded to a 15,000-inch TV, but no, the truth
Rhodesia,
of the matter
stop
is,
it. Back in my day, I had a 20-inch TV for half my life. Okay,
we don't buy bags.
I had a 20-inch TV for half my life.
What do they call CRTVs or CRTs or whatever technology was.
Yes, sir. And I had multiple consoles in that. Yeah,
that 20-inch was heavier than what a 500-inch television would be right now. Man,
the Genesis was connected to that boy. The Super Nintendo, then the N64 was connected to that bad boy. Man, let me tell you,
I remember people when I was working at Funkoland. So this was PlayStation time, so 99, 2000, whatever the PlayStation came out. I remember we sold so many RF adapters on the day after Christmas. And I remember I just would be like, man, leave us and go to Best Buy. Go buy a TV. You got an RF adapter for a PlayStation.
If you don't got an AV,
you're not seeing any of the technical advancements with your little one plug. Shout out to anybody who is still having a TV in their house, even if you don't use it, with just an RF switch. You know that little one prick. You just put that bad boy in the back of the TV. You get channel 247.
I didn't think you could get the PlayStation 56, with the RF. I think you already had an AV already.
No, I think you even do a PS2 with RF adapter too.
Wow.
How you watching DVDs?
On we 13 adapter? Minutes in. We gotta get to that freaking wrestling, but I do want to leave you one thing. My homeboy Fonzie, shouts out to him. I remember when we got an S video adapter. We had to find. I think I got one off an off-brand foreign website. It's a S video adapter for the N64.
Oh, yeah.
I got one for him, and let me tell you, we thought back then that was HD video because like it was amazing comparisons to like AV, like right in RF, man. And I bet like these young kids have no idea what an S video is, right? Like it's just
so then
amazing
you go to S video
technologies come on.
And then remember, then we went to component cables. Ooh, you had to separate the blue, the green, and the red. Oh man, we living life. Yep. 720p on NBA 2K. Oh, this is the best thing we'll ever have. Ain't nothing gonna top this. Yep. HDMI came out and changed our life.
Here we go.
All right, he said he want to get to the wrestling talk. So y'all take it away. What is deserving this week of the A block on our show?
Well, let's get into the question. Rhodesia had left forever on the last podcast, so she wasn't able to partake in the conversation, and we were kind of running out of time. So Matt modified the question I asked, and I thought actually it was a great modification. So I'm gonna start with you first, Rhodesia. But here's the question:
Okay.
if Triple H was running WWE 5 years ago, would there be an AEW?
I really wish I knew this question ahead of time. 5 years ago will place us at 19, right before the pandemic, toward the second round of terrible WWE time. And he was already in NXT as the lead creator content or content creator. I will say yes, there will still be AEW. And what fashion would it be in? Probably, maybe not still be around today, but the people who made All In, the original All in 2018, I believe, September 2018, I think their trajectory would have still been the same. So their timeline would have still been the same. And to have that kind of for the fan, the lapsed fan entertainment, I think that AEW would have still been born. Yes, I think they would have been.
Let me give you a little more context to Rhodesia. Maybe you might want to modify your answer or not. So essentially, we're talking about Triple H took over and started this bloom in WWE, and a lot of fans who stopped being fans came back, and we're saying that that's one of the biggest reasons why AEW is down right now, because a lot of the fans that left WWE went to AEW, now they're back, right? So if Triple H had took over much sooner, would those fans that left in the first place, would they be hungry for more or different content? And yes. I think that's kind of where we're getting at.
I still think so, because at that time, if you remember, we were still watching NXT and AEW. So I was still that same fan watching both products.
Well, before AEW came, before AEW started, let's say I maybe 6 years might be the bigger thing, right? A year before. That kind of or essentially those fans.
So before All In came,
before
any of that was a thing. If Triple H was running main roster WWE the same way he was running NXT and the way he's running WWE now, do you think there would have been a market for AEW or a secondary promotion to come in and take a nice piece of the market share of pro wrestling?
I would say probably not. Again, we're talking about there was no talking about the Elite and Tony Khan and all of that coming together, putting on one show because they were in New Japan, all that. Nope. I don't think if there was before all of that, I would say no, because at that time when we were watching NXT, all we kept saying, the NXT fans were like, man, can you imagine if he had Vince's money or Vince's power? Could you even just imagine that? And at that point, so NXT came out in 2010, I believe. The first takeover was 2014, I believe. So if you're talking about 3 years after that, hell yeah, they were cooking. At that point, there was not even a bad takeover. So absolutely, if that would have been able to go on to the main roster with the money and the production, then there would not have been a lane for AEW to have any kind of a national deal.
What say you, Matt?
Man, so I thought about it when we were podding last, and I really want to go with I don't think so. The reason why there wasn't a AEW was because WWE's product was so bad. At that time, it was not, hey, we just want more professional wrestling at our fingertips. It was, this is not what we want. This is not what we signed up for. This is not entertaining to the vocal minority, the majority minority. Because WWE, like I said, they were still selling out their WrestleManias. They still had a hold on pro wrestling, as they do now. But it was so much to be desired. It was so much left to be desired. And then you take in the effect of what the Young Bucks were doing, what Kenny was doing, what Cody was doing in NJPW, in Ring of Honor, that groundswell. But if this was Triple H's WWE, all those guys would have signed with WWE. So we wouldn't have had it to where they are not signing with WWE, and then here comes Tony Khan to build up another company. So my answer is I don't think there would have been an AEW if Triple H was the Triple H we knew in NXT and was the Triple H that we're seeing put on this television in WWE.
I definitely think so. I think there's always been a room for an alternative wrestling. Like, right, we always had it with WWF and NWA back in the day, and then WF and WCW, and they kind of catered to a different type of fan. We had to a small degree in TNA, but they didn't hit like AEW did. I think in wrestling in general has always been an avenue for different versions of wrestling presented at a high level. So I think in some capacity, yes, but I don't know. For me, I don't know if AEW would have been as big of a hit if WWE was cooking with Triple H at the top. I don't think so, right? I think that a lot of those fans that were hungry for something else would have been full with Triple H presenting WWE, especially back in the day, right? When he had, Keith Lee and all those guys, he was able to kind of push them up in the trajectory that they was kind of on to the main roster. Like, yep. Right? Definitely, right? And as you said, if he was ahead of I don't think that some of those releases would have hit AEW. But let's talk about what AEW could have done. I think at that time, Cody was still out doing his thing on the indies, and still was a renaissance happening in the independents, right? With the Young Bucks, with Kenny and them doing their thing in New Japan. Now, would have there been so many eyes on those guys? I don't know. But I definitely think that those guys would have been where they were going to be, which is on the major television. But now the question would have been, how aggressive would have Triple H would have been in signing those guys? But let's say Tony still would have gotten the elite Cody. And I don't actually think that this version of Cody we see would be the Cody would be this version had he not went through what he needed to go through, right? Had he not did the independence and went through AEW and kind of really horned that character, then brought it to WWE. I don't think we would have got this Cody Rhodes, but I think there would have been a lane and avenue for AEW to play in. I just don't think they would have been as successful as quickly as they had gotten. But
I don't know, man. Like, I think you're right. There was absolutely a lane for sure. But I don't think there would have been the groundswell of support for that promotion like we saw with AEW if WWE's product was really, really good. Like right now, take for instance, perfect example. Look at what Impact is doing right now. Shout out to Impact. They had their pay-per-view last night, 4,000 people in attendance. Which is good. Fantastic, right? You got them, I guess even right now, lesser extent NJPW, even though they've been around for a very, very long time. They're nowhere near as big as what they were before AEW, in the first 2 years of AEW. But let's go with Impact or TNA, even though they've been around for a long time too. 4,000 people in attendance. That's the biggest crowd they've had in years.
Yep.
They're getting really nice ratings, and I think that's due to the relationship they have now with NXT, WWE, which that could have happened back then too. So if the product is good, people are going to find time to watch because they've been there. I think what we would have seen is them being AEW, no matter who would have been there in terms of who the head booker is, who their top stars is, it wouldn't have been what we saw in those first few years. They were kicking WWE's ass in a lot of the major markets and in quality back then. So if we look at, say if we would take, this is all revisionist history, because if Triple H is running main roster WWE, then we're going to say, all right, Sean's running NXT. If that would have been the case 5 years ago, I don't think we even think about, man, what if there was a third brand to compete with NXT and WWE? That's not even on our minds. That stayed on our minds as wrestling fans. Like, man, something's got to give. Like, dude, what's up? And I just don't think you get that. So, yeah, I think there could have been a AEW, but it wouldn't have been looking the way it looked in those first few years. That's for sure.
You wouldn't have a national deal, a TV deal. You just wouldn't. Just like because
Tony
ROH
had on
folded,
AEW,
right? Didn't ROH fold?
Well, yeah, they never got as big as...
Yeah, their TV deal was real funky. It was syndication. It was through
Sinclair.
And Sinclair had billions of dollars, but they never spent anything on the ring. That whole thing was kind of like, okay, I don't get this. So I do think they would have gotten a television deal, because if you look at ratings, like right now, somebody could say there's a market for another wrestling promotion. If you look at the numbers that AEW gets albeit we think they should be much higher for the talent they have there. And you look at what WWE's doing and NXT.
It's a lot.
There is somewhere TV. There's a market where somebody could come up with a business plan and say, hey, we could run on Sunday nights on TV and get X amount of viewers. And somebody somewhere would say, you know what? We die to have those viewers on our network. You know what? Okay, let's talk.
That's TNA, and there's always been. I think there's been. There's room. You think about wrestling, as long as we've been watching wrestling, there's room for a third brand, right? You had ECW, and if they had a better TV deal or in a better financial backing, they probably would have been around a lot longer than they were as well, right? So there's definitely room for a third brand. But I think that you think about like the Bullet Club, like they were selling out. Like you saw Bullet Club shirts everywhere, right? And I can't think of, and that started with Finn. When Finn and the original group, like the Bullet Club in Japan were like hot. So definitely if Tony Khan could have got that on a national level, and he had that connection in TNT and TBS anyway during the time, so he would have got on there. But as you said, I don't think they would have. It would have been that groundswell of support for the company, but definitely it would have been a following that wanted to see it. I don't want to say a different style, because NXT was giving us a different style of wrestling in NXT during that time period that you wasn't seeing on the main roster, right? Those like you talk about those takeovers, like it was a different type of wrestling. They were letting the women go. Like that's the first place where the women were like almost uncaged, right? And they were doing their thing. So, but I definitely think that with the Young Bucks, with the Bullet Club, like Sammy Guevara, it would have been. There still was talent out there that need to be showcased on a main stage, because WWE, even though they had like 5 hours of TV every week and they had NXT, there still wasn't, there's only so many spots for so many guys, right? So those guys had to go somewhere. But as you said, I don't know if, like a CM Punk would have been interested in going to a AEW if it didn't have like the AEW following or like the groundswell at the time. It's interesting.
So then, just to be clear, you do think that AEW would still been birth?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And Matt, for me, I would say no. I'm going to say because it wouldn't be what it is now. Like, so I can't say AEW. Like, now if the question was, would there have been another promotion? That answer could be yes, maybe. But AEW, as we know AEW, I'm going to say no.
So you don't think Tony Khan would have had the idea of like, hey, after because like it was like, cause we're kind of, because the bigger thing is it would have all in been successful to give Tony Khan like the idea to do it, because I think all those things came around very quickly. I mean, just real quick, I was talking to Brandon the other day. Shouts out to his son, had a birthday.
Hey, happy birthday!
About wrestling, and he was saying, "Hey, how did AEW start?" And I was like, "I think it started." And I could be correct. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it started after, Meltzer said that independent show would never do, 10,000 seats, would never sell out an arena or something like that. And so then, the Bucks and Kenny Cody, they all started all in. We had that big renaissance. And I remember being at a autograph signing. I think I told the story on the show before, but I was at the autograph signing. I kind of built up some courage to talk to the Bucks because they were there, and this is before AEW. They still were independents. They were in Georgia, and I asked them. I said, "Hey, man, I was like I really enjoy All In. Like, hey, I'd love for you guys to do a second one." He looked around. Because this was me and my wife, I believe, in the room. I don't think there's many people in there. He looked around. He looked at his brother. None of this is Matt Jackson talking. He looked at Nick. He said, "All right, kayfabe, we are going to do an All In. Areas will be All In too." Kayfabe. And I'm like, oh no, he just told me like some insider information. Like, so I kept that to myself. I didn't go online, but I went home and I texted Matt, like, Matt,
yep,
the Young Bucks said it's going to be an All In too. Now, what we didn't know at the time was that this was a Tony Khan back All In too, and it was going to go lead into AEW and all those things. So I definitely think that we would have had a show. Now, how big would it All In been if it didn't have that support to sell out 10,000 seat, right? And then AEW, then Tony Khan having the idea to say, "Hey, we could actually do a whole promotion now."
Because those 10,000 people in the crowd in Chicago, we were there. Everybody in that crowd wanting something more from WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was why that was such a big deal. And Meltzer sent that, tweet out, and then Cody had, quote tweeted and said, I think I'll take that bet or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
But that was why, and it was the passion behind the AEW fan base and AEW in regards to, we have been spoon-fed this crap for so long. And now we want a promotion that listens to their fans, that gives us what we want. And it can be on weekly television. Oh man, let's go. That was why AEW was so special. And we can get some of the best wrestlers in the world that just wouldn't work in WWE because they can't cut the best promo, or they're undersized, or they pissed off the old man at some point and now the bridge is burned, whatever the case may be. That was such a magical time years ago with AEW. And it's still, of course, a great promotion. Rhodesia, I'll let you go because Brandon has sent us a question today. I was like, oh, we're going to hit that on the podcast today. And it leads right into this perfectly. But before we get to that question, what did you have, Rhodesia?
I just think that AEW would not have been a thing. Would the All In still be a thing? Possibly. Absolutely. Because I remember New Japan and Bullet Club being so hot, because I think they were with ROH. I think they were also wrestling in the States under ROH. And so there was some hype behind them. So I do believe All In could have always happened, the actual show put together, just because indies put shows together all the time. But I just don't think there would have been a true market for AEW to be born, to be able, by Tony Khan. So let's just go and say Tony Khan show, AEW, whatever he would have called it, if NXT or if Triple H was running WWE. To me, it would have been like how much I loved NXT. How much we like, oh my God, please don't call this person up after Mania, because we already know what's about to happen to them when they go to the main roster. How much passion we had as fans. NXT was something where it was for the lapsed fan, but a lot of people didn't watch it anymore because it still had WWE name on it. Just like we have friends. It's like, come on, you got to watch NXT. NXT is actually really, really good. No, because they were burned so bad by WWE. If Triple H had been in that role, in the head creator seat of the main roster, I don't think we would have had the energy to be able to create another promotion like AEW. Maybe have All In still? Sure. Okay. But to be able to say, hey, you know what? This is actually a good thing. And we got a billionaire fan who's going to sign this check for us. All right. No, let's do that. Let's do that and come out with Double or Nothing. I just don't think that would have happened.
And I hate people online who think they're so smart. Like, whenever something happens in AEW, they call like Tony Khan a money mark, and it's like, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't like. I can't stand the fans who think they are so insider and they're so smart. It's like there's certain words when I read online. It's like, man, I probably, and they don't. Of course, none of them have like profile photos, right? It's always of some wrestler or some stupid ass piece of grass or something. It's like, I know exactly how you look.
Stupid ass piece of grass.
You know what I mean? I know how you smell too. Brandon's question was, and this is a really good one. He said, I'm interested in hearing how bad it got during the dark days of WWE in comparison to AEW's bad times. I get the sense WWE was in a tougher spot. This thought came about because I saw something that talked about a time where Raw was being booked based on emails from a laptop on live broadcast, which is hilarious. He's talking about the Raw GM where the spontaneous noise of an email came in, and then Michael Cole would get up there and be like, I got an email from the Raw general manager, and then he would book matches and et cetera, et cetera. But what's your guys' thoughts? What's your guys' answer? Compare WWE's dark time to AEW's dark time. So we'll say AEW's dark time. I think it's not even a comparison, but this is a good discussion.
I believe there's since I've been watching WWE, 2 dark periods of WWE. I would say probably around definitely just recently. So like 17 through 19. But I also feel like there was another dark time somewhere around where I think Matthew was born. So around 2010-ish to maybe 2013-ish. I might be off on my years. But I think there was 2 laws there for them. And if I just take one or the other, doesn't really matter which one I take. If I take one or the other, I just think about watching as a fan WWE and Vince always insulted my intelligence. I am watching somebody 1 week, next week or 2 weeks later, they come back and it's the completely opposite thing. And I'm supposed to be sitting here like I'm boo boo the fool and I'm supposed to believe everything that I just saw when just 2 weeks ago, it was something totally different. When people got over naturally, like Long Island IZ, they still got buried. They just never got a true push. Even if the fans got behind them,
they got in
trouble. You're right. They got in
trouble.
Trouble. Yeah. And then we got during the I would say the 2010 time, you have Super Cena, and then you got the big dog in this most recent one, the 2017 and 2019 time. So it's just like when Vince was so hell bent on pushing somebody, it wasn't like what we see like with Tony Khan drawing out a storyline because he really wants the story to pay off. No, it was like, I'm going to shove this person down your throat. And again, that's why I said we got the Super Cena. That's why we got the big dog Roman Reigns. But you look at the downtime for WWE and how long it was. And I still spent money. You still spent a lot of money for us going to WrestleManias and stuff too. So I'm also kind of a hypocrite to talk bad about it during those times. We really didn't have another option. But with AEW now, today, yeah, my biggest gripes with them is they don't let moves digest or situations digest where, hey, I just saw something. Let me understand what I just saw. And I always complain about them being violent. So now I'm going to become numb to when it actually really is violent because you're creating this precedent. And lastly, by comparison, AEW has to contend against a super hot WWE. So to me, when we talk about like the downs, I would absolutely take AEW down. Call me AEW girl all you want, more than the times that we were having our downs in WWE. We got nothing, and we felt like just dumbass fools, like rats on a little thingy, spinning wheel, just going in circles. AEW just doesn't have a lot of good direction right now in structure. But that's okay because I still feel the passion within it. They still allow their talent to try and go out there and sink or swim. So to me, as far as the downs, I would rather take AEW any day, anytime over those downhill times during WWE.
You know, I get on this show and I give Tony kind of a little bit of business only because I think he's capable of doing a lot more. I think he has potential as a booker, and his company has much more of a potential to do better than they're doing. I felt like Vince McMahon in the last 10 years has been one of the worst bookers, and he ran that company almost into the ground. Now, a big part of it is that he kept getting those big money deals, right? Because I feel like WWE, he had built that WWE brand and that name that people were buying it, right? So especially once he got that $1 billion deal from Fox, I knew couldn't nobody tell him nothing. And I knew that show was only going to get worse and worse and worse. And for me as a fan, I'm like, man, I can't do this anymore. I'm out. And that's kind of what kind of birthed AEW, because there were so many fans like me that are like, man, look, we love wrestling. I don't want to give it up. And okay, now we finally got an owner that's a fan that appreciates and understands what we want. And he was giving us a product to a degree that was what we wanted, right? Like it was fresh, new, young talent. It was exciting matches. So when I think about the dark times, I'll take AEW's dark times they're having right now because they're up against a juggernaut. And it's the same company as it was 5 years ago, and that's part of the problem. They haven't grown outside of that because it's a television show. Like, right? And they're making, it's almost like a big independent show that they're doing. They haven't graduated from just put on big shows into actually making a television show, and they're up against a juggernaut. WWE in the darkest times, like we knew that old man Vince, old dirty nasty Vince, this wasn't going to change. And he had no idea what people wanted to see at any year because he was a 75 and 76 and whatever. It was a big disconnect. And like the product was terrible. The shows were unwatchable. Those 3-hour Raws were like, they were so great. And now what I would have to do to watch that, I would literally watch a specific wrestler that I like. I'll watch their stuff and then I'll fast forward for probably like 30, 40 minutes to find somebody else I liked. But at some point in time, he will beat down these guys that I like to where I didn't even want to see their stuff anymore. To where now, like that 30 minutes of the show is becoming like I'm watching a 3-hour show in 15 minutes to a point to where I'm just actually watching on Hulu, okay, it's an hour and a half, and I don't have to fast forward through as much. To I'm just watching the highlights on YouTube of some of the stuff I want to see. At no point am I like that with AEW. AEW has potential to be so much better than Vince McMahon was, and actually it was dark because I knew things weren't going to get better. He's going to continue to make money. He's going to continue to put on the shows that we were putting on because look, if you're making it, he's running a business, and that's kind of the difference with AEW and Tony Khan. Tony Khan, this is a personal passion of his. So regardless if he makes money or not, he's going to put on the show that he likes, that he's passionate about. Right? I don't know if Vince McMahon had passion for the business at that point, outside of making the most money that he could.
Well, I think he definitely had passion for the business. Now the question would be, did he have passion for the wrestling aspect of the business? I'm sure he got so excited when they were signing these major deals with Mattel and these streaming deals. That's the business. But I think you're talking the wrestling business. You're talking what happens on
He changed your names to superstars.
You know what I mean? Like, well, that was years and years and years and years ago.
But I'm saying that again, there was two down. There was two. Oh, well, when I started watching wrestling, they weren't superstars until later. When I first started watching,
they were always superstars.
In the Attitude Era.
They were
Trust
all
me.
superstars.
When you were watching, they were superstars.
They were never called wrestlers.
He started superstars back when back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And you know, and so like here's the thing, when what he was doing in the 80s and with Vince Russo in the 90s and Attitude Era, okay, he was taking care, he was doing some good business, right? Because I get it, because there was a negative stench on wrestling. Like, right. And they just weren't getting advertisers and, just perceptive. And, Matt and I know full well, like, why do you watch that stuff? Right. So he was trying, okay, this isn't wrestling. This is entertainment. Like, right. To make it more palatable to, to the non-wrestling fans, to media, etc. Right. So he started calling wrestlers superstars. Like, hey, they're not just wrestlers. These are global icons. These are global superstars. Yeah. He was doing that back in the rock and wrestling day.
And that's fine, because if it wasn't for that, we don't get the Bloodline storyline. Because going with sports entertainment is what really started the storylines, the bigger than life pieces. It wasn't just what's happening in that ring and match over. You know what I mean? It wasn't that. You guys hit it perfectly. Both of you are spot on. The question, it's not even a question. WWE's worst time. I don't think AEW can get as bad as WWE was.
Nope.
WWE was getting those ratings and attendance in spite of Vince's decisions. WWE is getting the high ratings and attendance now because of the great decisions they're making. That's the difference. If they did not have a 30-year runway, lead time,
right,
they would be looking like any other wrestling promotion that can't fill 1,500, 2,000 people in a space right now. That would be WWE, but they had so many people who watched because my granddad watched, my grandma watched. I remember watching this back in the 80s. So then, of course, that goes to the 90s and the 2000s. When they hit, they hit. When they didn't, they didn't. And the biggest difference for AEW, we watch AEW, the reason why we get upset is because, to what he said, we know it can be better. That's the reason why. It's because, like, damn, if y'all would just do this, you could have got another 3 weeks out of it. Instead of saying it's going to happen, it happens, and then we forget about it. But AEW very rarely will leave you on the hook for something. They pay everything off. You may not like the payoff. It may take a year and a half to get to the payoff because of injuries, whatever the case may be. You're going to get the payoff. There has been countless times that WWE did not give us a payoff. How has Kofi Kingston never had a rematch against Brock Lesnar after getting squashed in 13 seconds and losing his belt? There were so many rematches for the causes of having rematches. I would never forget. I can't remember what feud it is. We had 4 matches on 4 straight Raw shows of the same one-on-one match. Yep. And word was, Vince forgot he booked it 2 weeks ago. Oh, Vince forgot that was a match last week. So they're doing it again. 50-50 booking.
That's hard for me to believe, though,
nobody ever got over except for John Cena. They fed
But that happens so often, though.
Happened all the time. All the time. And then it would be
But it's hard for me to believe that he forgot.
Oh, I don't think so.
I put that down to, I chalked that up to him just shoving it down our throats. I love John Cena because I thought John Cena was cute and he's the face. But outside of that, if I didn't think he was cute and if I didn't cheer a face, I would have probably hated Cena.
Well, but Cena was the cash cow, right? So take Cena out. Vince was really in the mindset of the top things matter. Cena's going to get his thing, right? Whatever that is. If that is a awesome promo, if that is a storyline, if that is a match, Cena's going to be protected and taken care of. Now, whatever else happens on this 2-hour show, it's there for filler because everybody's tuning in to see Cena. Everybody's tuning in to see Roman Reigns. Think about Roman Reigns. One of the last things before Roman was get chucked the deuces before COVID and such was him getting dog food poured on him by Baron Corbin. That we would never see that right now in WWE ever. Yeah, and that was like part of the course.
Anywhere.
That's
you would see that anywhere.
Anywhere. And that's what we
and see one of the biggest problem with Vince is that he was so disconnected because he only saw superstars in one light. Like, right? Like the John Cena's, the Roman Reigns type of, that's what his avenue. So when you got like a guy like Daniel Bryan, like, right, he can't understand how a dude who's 5'10", who has a scruffy beard, he doesn't get how he's connecting to the fans. That's why he wasn't pushing them properly when the Yes Movement originally started, right? Then he kind of double backed on it and they kind of did it a little bit. He doesn't get how like a dude like Eddie Guerrero is connecting to the fans, right? Who's this dude who's like 5'8", like, right? So that's why his championship pushes were always kind of, because you can tell Vince McMahon when he's behind somebody when he's not, even if he gives them the championship, right? Because when like you can tell when he books like a Roman Reigns or a John Cena, he makes them the key part of the show. Like he's building the show around them to where, you know, like Daniel Bryan gets the championship, but he's like the third fiddle, right? He's not even the main event on pay-per-views, right? Or he's not even the main cog on the actual show, right? You can tell when he's really behind somebody, and you don't get that with AEW. Like Tony Khan, Triple H, when somebody gets hot, they figure out how to work that person into the show, right? They figure out LA Knight, for instance, right? Like we can say he was ready or not for that match with Roman Reigns, but there was a groundswell for LA Knight. He was getting popular, so they pushed that man. Like, right? If Vince wasn't behind that guy probably would have been pushed to the bottom of the card. He might have been on some shows.
You mean, what was his name? Not Maxine Dupree. What was his name?
Oh, dang.
Last name was Dupree. What was his name?
Oh, he was Max Dupree.
Max Dupree.
Max? Okay.
He was Max Dupree.
With Max Dupree. And I got a hot take for y'all because you brought up Bryan Danielson. The Yes Movement would not have happened if WWE's product was good.
Well, of course. I mean, yeah. Because again, it was in spite of the product not being good. That whole thing came about.
Because we never seen anything after that outside of Cody. And that was strictly because, okay, you're not going to do this to Cody. That was more of a real life type of thing than it was like in a storyline. Because you just brought him up, LA Knight. Imagine, I told Matt this Friday watching SmackDown. Imagine if there was no Cody Rhodes, CM Punk. I know, but just go with me for a minute. Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns.
You mean?
Yeah, imagine if we didn't have that. One, LA Knight's your guy. He is the champion. He is the Austin and Rock of this time frame. But the reason why there are so many top guys is how they're being booked. Yeah. That's why these people have been around forever. Think about Drew's first stint. He was still Drew McIntyre. I mean, think about Drew 2 years ago. He ain't this Drew. Roman Reigns ain't this Roman Reigns. You know, we still haven't seen Punk yet really get integrated. He's only done promos. But you know what I'm saying. So if you look at somebody like LA Knight and there is not that push this guy or we're done, it's because everything is so good around him that you're kind of like, we still love him, but if he don't get a title, we good because we do have Logan Paul. We do got Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and the list goes on and on and on. But that is a complete result of the strong booking they've done in the last 2 years under this regime, which we didn't have before. So Brandon, fantastic question, man, but it's not even close. I would love to hear somebody, if you feel differently or if you feel the same, of course, hit us up, let us know. But if you feel differently from us, that you feel AEW's bad times were worse than WWE's bad times, please leave us a message and I will read it and we will talk it on our next podcast. I would love to hear it. And then I would love to hear it. Not like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, send us. No, I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are, because I can't personally see it, but I would love to hear it.
But I would honestly feel like if anybody disagrees with that, me being a hypocrite already, 50 minutes into the show, if you're a hypocrite with that, then you might just be a tribalistic fan, because again, the facts of the matters are all the things we just stated. Like, it's not even comparison between the two, the downtimes of AEW and the downtimes of WWE.
I would still want to hear it, even if it is tribalistic. I still want to hear it.
This is the last thing I'm gonna say on the matter, right? So anybody who disagrees, you would have to been in that WWE Royal Rumble. I think it was 2021, Matt, that we all went together.
The one right after COVID. Yeah.
Right after COVID, we went to it, right?
I remember that.
St. Louis.
And then here's the thing, this quick story. I think we might have talked about it before, but on my bucket list was always go to a Royal Rumble. It's one of my favorite pay-per-views from that company, and I always wanted to go to one. And so when Matt had reached out to me and thought about going, I'm like, yeah, absolutely, I love to go. I wanted to get there, and it was a bad time. This is right around. I actually thinking about it, this is right around the COVID time, because COVID was trying to stop me from getting there. I think Rhodesia had COVID. Right, and so at this
point, don't put my business out there like that.
She had the virus. She had the virus, right?
I don't even remember Royal Rumble. I was on pills, pain pills, and I was out. I probably looked like a drug addict.
She had the virus, and so at this point, like, I'm like paranoid about the virus. So I'm like, yo, I can't be up in their house, yo. I don't know, right? But I'm like, all right, forget it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. And I'm not sure if it was Katrina or it was me. But I started getting sick towards the end of the trip. I'm thinking it's just sinus. All good. We go down there. I'm in this arena. And I'm sick. I'm thinking I'm good. I think I even lost my voice at some point during that show. I wasn't even talking straight. But the entire arena, we're watching this Royal Rumble's men's match. And the arena was so quiet. Every time a wrestler came out, there was no reaction from the crowd. No, Kofi Kingston comes out, no reaction. Anybody comes out, no reaction. Like, we were sitting on our hands for almost that entire men's WrestleMania match. The only time you got a reaction was from when the few big dogs will come out. A Brock Lesnar, a Seth Rollins. Because we knew during that time, there was the big guys, Roman Reigns, Seth, Brock, and then there was everybody else, and they were on a much lower totem pole. We knew that only a few people, maybe 3 people, were capable of winning the Royal Rumble spot. Right? No one else mattered. Now, today, if you were to throw all the storylines out the window, right? You have no idea where people are going. And you put, all those guys, Drew McIntyre, even the Bronson Reed, any of these guys into a Royal Rumble and say, hey, we're resetting. There's no storylines. We're putting all these guys in Royal Rumble. You would erupt when these guys are coming out. You have no idea who will win, because if a Drew McIntyre came out there, CM Punk, Seth, Solo, or Roman Reigns, these guys were to come out. Any of these guys are capable of winning the Royal Rumble and challenging somebody at WrestleMania. But back in 2021, we knew only them top guys are going to do it. Nobody else.
From that Royal Rumble, the only thing I remember, because I actually don't even remember the drive down. That's how out of it I was.
Wow.
Was Shane got fired, right? I think that was the only thing. That Shane
that was afterwards, because remember he came in completely.
Yeah, that's the only thing I remember.
Yeah, it was horrible.
That's the only thing I remember was Shane got fired.
We're gonna do a do-over when they go to Cleveland. We'll be there for Cleveland, because that was the only Rumble. I've been to every other major pay-per-view. The only thing we haven't been to is Wrestle Kingdom. And I don't know if I'm be going to Japan for NJPW. We've been to everything else that's been major. I gotta get a redo for that. I do have a question. You guys may not have an answer. And I tried to cheat really quick and look at .com, and you may not have an answer. It's fine. We can do it next week. If you had to name one wrestler right now that you would say, you know what, if I had the book, if I had the power outage happened in wrestling, right? We talked about it at the beginning of the show. Power outage happened and flights got canceled and all that kind of stuff. Power outage hits, but it doesn't hit for our computers right to Triple H or right to WWE. And we can switch somebody who is on the roster that we think is not getting the kind of push that they deserve. And we slot them into a different spot. Computers come back up. They don't question it because it is what it is. It's on the docket. Who right now would you guys give a much bigger push to that you feel is not being utilized properly, correctly? Is there anybody, male, female, doesn't matter. Hell, even if you want to go AEW, so give me a little bit of time to think. Is there anybody you would say, yep, I would slot them much higher than where they are?
I'm going to take just the low-hanging fruit, and I don't have a resolution for it, but it would be LA Knight. I've been beating this drum for a year and a half now. He has all the love behind him, all the engagement behind him, but he just can't break the top. There's no space for him right now. But again, just based off of your question, who's that one person? It would be LA Knight for me.
I'm gonna go to easy route if I can use AEW. You know, my guy is Malachi Black. I think that look, there's like 25 single championships in AEW. You can't get one. Like that's the problem. Like, right, everybody got a champ. I got one. You know what I'm saying? I got one at the crib and I'm a champion. But we can't get Malachi Black one. Like that needs to be corrected. And I'm surprised this man is being utilized the way he's being utilized. And he said he's good with AEW. No, brother, you need to get up out of there. Or they need to book you better. But I would agree with you. If we look on the WWE side, I will probably say LA Knight. If I got to come up with something right now, but as you said, I mean, you think the people on top of them should be on top of them,
right?
Like, right. I think that he's equal to like a Damian Priest, in my opinion. I think like he's like right in that area. But because I actually, in comparisons, I would rather see LA Knight with the championship on Raw over Damian Priest. I just don't think. I'm not into it.
Oh, I would.
I'm not into it.
Yeah. I would. And once again, remember, now I'm like Damian's biggest fan after Monday. I think he's gonna add to that on Monday on Raw 2 this week, and I'm gonna be a super duper fan.
Oh, he's retaining his championship at SummerSlam. Just be ready, y'all. Just be ready. 2 weeks from now.
So both of y'all said LA Knight.
Still.
Both of y'all said LA Knight. Did Logan Paul get him on SmackDown or no?
Yeah, but I kind of don't like Logan Paul right now for other reasons. But he did. He got him good.
I don't know who writes Logan Paul's stuff though, but Logan Paul is pretty good. Like we can't say there hasn't been another person that's caught on to the wrestling business as quick as he is, I think, since Kurt Angle. I think he's just one of those guys who just was built for that, right? Like his entire skill set he built outside of WWE is perfect for her WWE. Much like Kurt Angle. Like I think like he's just a natural on the microphone. Like in the ring, his look, presence, man, he's a big dude too. I mean, he got kind of look. He got kind of like that. He's super tall, right? He reminds me kind of like a Ravishing Rick Rude. Like we know Ravishing Rick Rude got. Yeah,
he's an athlete. You look at him, you be like, oh, okay, he's an athlete. Yeah, like I was watching and I'm like, okay, he's getting LA Knight. But then at the same time too, like some of the stuff he was talking about, not to say it was unfair, but I'm like, all right, LA Knight really can't retort about what you're saying about LA Knight. So it was a little bit of that unfair, like the levels weren't the same, like kind of like Bailey's comment tonight. And I made a tweet about it. Like, I get it. That popped the insider fans and the internet of saying, you know, the reason why I was injured or my career took a different trajectory is because you're unsafe, you're reckless,
you're clumsy.
Yeah, but she's a heel, and the whole fucking point of wrestling is to like injure your opponent and beat him. Once again, I get it. I know why she said it. I'm sure it garnered the reaction she wanted. But when you hear that on TV, I was kind of just like, to me, that was kind of a miss.
Well, because I think, you know, that we have to hold those people to a higher standard because we know what she's trying to say by that. And of course, she's not calling her reckless, but she's just doing it to get the pop. But you're better than that. Like if Cody were to say it, like Cody, you can't say that to your opponent. Like you don't do that. You have to take a higher road. At least for me, if that's the way I'm interpreting what you're saying. But Nia was like, all right, I got you. She instantly, somebody didn't tell her that she was going to say that line because she instantly got mad.
But that line was what took her to like, are we done here? Like, like she legitimately got pissed, which once again, if the point of wrestling is to injure and hurt your opponent, saying that I'm reckless doesn't make sense. Like, okay, I hurt you because I attacked you. That's the point of me attacking you, is to hurt you. I just thought it fell on deaf ears. I was like, okay, that, and Nia ain't been reckless since she's been back. It'd also be different too if that was the rap on her just a couple months ago. We ain't talking about that now in what, 2 years?
So
Nia?
SummerSlam is going to be Nia Charlotte Part 2.
No, I don't think that's gonna happen again.
I gotta be honest, like for me, like it was. I didn't think it was that bad, to be honest with you, man. Like they trying to put on entertaining TV. For the people who got that line, I think it hit. And I think that they're not. I don't think they're shooting on each other. Like, right? We don't know that they're beefing, so they probably were both in on whatever was being said, so they were okay with it, right? So it wasn't. Yeah. So when you think about it in that context, this ain't like back in the day, or when Vince Russo is just coming on pay-per-views and he's just shooting on Tall Tales Terry, and Eric Bischoff, like they in on it, right? And so this is something they worked out and they agreed on, and they're just trying to get that insider, make them a little bit happy. And when you think about it from a perspective, like somebody being clumsy, like, yeah, I mean, so somebody, just because somebody is say, hey, you're not good, you're just clumsy as shit. So when you throw me, like you falling around and like just being, I can't counter you because like you're unorthodox, because you're unsteady, like, right? And sometimes that's the worst opponent, right? Somebody who's just unorthodox. You can't really guess what they're going to do because they doing something they don't know what they're going to do, like, right? So I mean, I didn't think it was that bad. It's just television. They're in on it. They're just trying to pop whoever they can pop, and I feel like that's something that might go over someone else's head. But for the people that reach it, it's cool. And it definitely was a dig. So I was okay with it.
Week 2. Randy Orton's week 1. Kevin Owens week 2. Cody Rhodes now has no allies going up against the Bloodline. We asked last week, do you save Roman for SummerSlam or do you have Roman appear before SummerSlam? If the story is going to be Cody Rhodes now has no allies. He saw his better friend who helped him get into business get destroyed, and he had to sit there and watch like he was being crucified through the ropes on the past SmackDown, and then this SmackDown, the other ally, KO, gets completely laid out, destroyed. He's gone. How do you now book Roman Reigns to come back? Or do you not book and you try to go with Jimmy Uso? I saw Bushman commented on YouTube last week. He said, what if Jimmy was the one that costed Solo the match and not Roman? Rhodesia, when you were talking about maybe Roman doesn't even show up to SummerSlam. It came out that, what's his name? Starts with an H. Tonga.
Hunter.
What's his real name?
Tonga?
Hugo Leo.
Yes. He's officially signed to WWE, and we know that trademark name was for him. So if the Bloodline Hillside has the Tongan brothers, Tungaleo and
Tama and Tonga.
Yep, Tama. You gotta assume Leo's going with him as taller Tonga. So he's not going to be on the babyface side of the Bloodline story. So we got another big Samoan coming to be on the 2.0 heel side. Now seeing that Cody has no friends, no allies, he's at it alone. Do you book Roman to show up on, well, they already taped, I think they taped next Friday's SmackDown already. But do you book him for the night before SmackDown? Or do you have him come back at SummerSlam?
Why are they booking next week's SmackDown already?
I think they are in, I don't think I'm mixing up shows. I think they're like out the country or something.
Okay. Well, the answer your question. No. Roman's not coming until after SummerSlam.
Oof.
I can see a world where it's Jimmy that comes out and makes the save, right? Or, because I feel like you can. So I feel like Cody has to retain, and I feel like he has to get some help to retain, right? Because it's like 100 of them dudes against him right now, right? Somebody got to kind of help, like allow him to sneak one. So that way, if like a Jimmy comes out and gives him a super kick a couple times, and then Cody rolls Solo up with the pin, And then, they rush him out of the ring, and then all the bloodline guys come in there, right? So now, like, Solo has a little bit of out. He can save a little bit of face because it took like a surprise attack to kind of take him out. So, but it also keeps the title on Cody for his next challenge. I feel like that can work. Something we don't talk about today though, but I saw like I think one of our homegirls on X had a picture of War Game, and it was all the Samoans, or Tongans, I should say, with Longa in there. So it's those 5. You got Tama, Tonga, Longa, Solo, and Joe, right? Joseph. And they had Roman, the Usos, and Sami Zayn, and Cody Rhodes as the 5th man. And some of them weren't feeling that. Like, it begs the question, like, it's coming, but if it's going to be 5, who's the 5th guy? Who else would they have?
Who's the 5th member? Who is it? I wouldn't put Cody in it. I wouldn't put Cody if you could get away with it. I wouldn't hate it. Who would you put in there? Like, I wouldn't hate
KO?
it, but I wouldn't
probably KO or Orton.
I mean, it would have to be somebody that has a long-term story with the bloodline. And to me, Cody doesn't have a long-term story with the bloodline. He only has a long-term story with trying to get the championship from Roman. And to me, that's a little bit different. Or you don't have to go 5, go 4. And have Tonga Loa as the enforcer outside the ring. You don't have to have him in there botching low blows and such.
Well, he was concussed, so you can't
allegedly
fist him in the booty.
He looked just fine that next Friday. We didn't hear one word about him,
but that was
not
fine because
passing
he already had time.
protocols or nothing like that.
Some concussions is just that immediate 10 to 15 minutes. Then there's some that can be a week or two of symptoms. He was good after a good night of sleep. He was good.
All right, y'all. I lied. I do have one deep dive or kind of like that. So I was watching SmackDown on Friday, and I'm going to say this now instead of saying this on the SummerSlam prediction pod because I don't really think it's going to happen. But I have a scenario that would be incredible. So I was watching SmackDown, and of course Cody is getting his ass kicked by the Bloodline again, and they're telling the story of beating down KO, and I'm like, okay, that's where my mind went. All right. They got Orton last week. They get Orton this week. Cody doesn't have any other friends. All right, does Roman come back to help Cody? Fast forward to SummerSlam. Of course, we get a spot where there's a ref bump. We know what that is. Bloodline is now wreaking havoc. All of them. Beating the shit out of Cody. Roman's music hits. Place goes crazy. Roman comes down. Roman is standing in the middle of the ring. Cody to his left. Solo to his right. Superman punch to Cody. Solo wins the championship, and Roman Reigns acknowledges Solo. That would blow everybody's mind and would be incredible storytelling. The problem with that, of course, is you take the belt off Cody. Shouldn't take the belt off Cody. But can you imagine the story of Roman Reigns acknowledging Solo? And then, of course, you can tell the story of it goes to Solo's head and Roman now breaks off and takes his pieces that he wants from the bloodline. And then maybe we get Roman and Jacob together because Jacob sees the real tribal chief. You can tell that entire story. But I did think that moment where Roman actually hits Cody instead of Solo would be ridiculous.
Can I tweak that just a little bit? Same thing. Ref bump. He's down. Cody's getting towed up. Boom, 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 boom. All of a sudden, his music hits. Roman comes out. What'd you say? Super punches Cody. Boom, lay him out. Solo gets the win. And then we start the story of, okay, now I'm about to challenge back for the tribal chief spot. I don't want him acknowledging Solo, but I can see him definitely saying, hey, get this back into our family. But now I'm going to come for you to take back my title and my, what would you call these? The falas or whatever they were called. The necklace, the red necklace. I don't want him acknowledging Solo. But I can see the punch. And you would be like, oh, hell no. Nah. And then Roman would be a heel again.
It'll be one of those. It'll be one of those.
So wait a minute. Let me get this straight. So y'all want Roman Reigns, who the fans have been clamoring for, cheering for, right? Chanting for, to come down and Superman punched Cody, side with Solo, the man everyone see him against. Solo pins Cody, wins the championship. And then we start the story of Roman said, hey, you know what? I know I gave you the championship. It's because I wanted to win the championship off of you and the tribal chief. Y'all think that will be a great story for them to tell?
Well, that's not exactly what I said I wanted. Matt said a scenario, and I said that I can see Roman coming down, super punching Cody Rhodes, but I wouldn't want him not acknowledging Solo at all. That's what I said.
But in that, he would have to acknowledge him because then he wouldn't help him win. And I said we can't do that because you don't take the belt off Cody. You don't take the belt off Cody to give it to Solo because then Cody doesn't fit anywhere in getting his belt back. That's Cody's belt until at least WrestleMania. But that moment of that shocking turn would be incredible. If they could find a way to do it where the belt doesn't change hands, oh my God, I would be here for it. Because nobody would. That's one of those swerves in the moment. Damn, take out Cody losing the title. If that wasn't the case, that's one of those swerves where it'd be like, I didn't see that coming and that was tremendous. Because of the story they could tell with that. But
I gotta tell you, Matt, this is why we as fans don't book wrestling.
I don't know why you would say that. I ain't had a bad idea yet on this show.
That was one of them. That was it.
No, that was not one of them.
That was it. That's what this is. See, fans, we get so hype about swerves just to have swerve. Sometimes you don't need to have swerves. That is not what Roman Reigns is coming back as the conquering hero. That's what you want to see him. You don't want to see him cost another hero, right? That the fans are behind the championships. And then at some point, feud with the guy you just no, you don't do that, man. I don't think even Tony Khan would do that. You do not do that. Let that man come and he's standing against Solo for the family, and you tell the story that they've already been telling. There's no needs for no swerves that's going to turn the conquering hero into a heel for a certain part of the audience and then try to turn back again. Why do all that? That's too much work.
If this happens, Matt, you got to come on the show and be like, I told you.
I said, no, I don't think it's going to happen. I just think it's a great idea. But if it was Tony Khan's promotion, he wouldn't even have Roman involved in Solo. He would have him involved in the CM Punk, Drew McIntyre fiasco. and the story would be because Seth Rollins turned on him and made him this way. And CM Punk was the original Paul Heyman guy, and he never got over. That's the story.
Actually, that's pretty good though too.
See, if the
bloodline didn't exist, that actually is a pretty good story.
Oh man! Speaking of AEW and like returning superstars, news just came out today that Bobby Lashley is looking like he's about to be wrapping up with WWE. I think he's no longer on the roster page for .com. His contract's up in a few weeks, and they're saying if for some reason he does not sign an extension, he still wants to wrestle, so he's not retiring. What's your guys' thoughts about Bobby Lashley seemingly being done in WWE?
I don't have any good, right? Then he can go and do something else. If he says he wants to still wrestle, then there will be other places that he can go to and wrestle. So my thoughts would be great. Because the last time he was with the Street Profits, again, he was always still the guy. He always still got that spectacle, pomp and circumstances for him. And there was actually fans who still is behind him. But that was pretty much just it. Again, there's so many people who's already at the top. So it's hard for him to kind of break through to be the top. Go somewhere else, anywhere else, and finish off your wrestling career.
Yeah, I don't want to say I'm totally surprised because as we talked about, right, talking about a guy like LA Knight is where he is because like the top is so heavy right now. Different than like WCW was back in the day. Remember that, Matt? Like we had like all the older talent that was on the top spots, and then we felt like the time was like you had the Jerichos, the Eddie Guerreros, the Chris Benoits, etc., who were kind of ready to take those guys out of the spot, but like they wouldn't let go. Like I think it's a different time in WWE right now. I think the guys that are in position are there for a reason. And you got to think about Bobby Lashley. We much respect to him and his career, but he's a much older man. He doesn't look like it, right? But he's an older guy. You know, and think about like, I don't know what the disconnect was to why he couldn't finish his career out in WWE. And we can fantasy book him in AEW. From a star, he's that, but does he fit the style of wrestling in that company?
And see, and
like
that's
the thing. Like, right?
I think he would be another person, man, over there.
And I saw someone, they had like a list of like potential match candidates, but I gotta tell you though, what I like about Bobby isn't his wrestling. It's more than wrestling just with him. Like, right, it's his aura, his the way he looks. I think he's more than searchable on the microphone. You know, like MVP also was released too, I believe. Yeah, I would love to see those two guys connect in AEW. I think that they can do some great television. But now we talk about the different matches. I just don't see his style meshing with a lot of the other talent there. But if they want a star, and bring MVP along with them, I definitely think the MVP on the mic could be very controversial. I think they can do some quality television, and if the matches are booked properly, I definitely think he can help. But even though he's an older dude, I think the dude's close to 50. He doesn't look like he's close to 50, man. Like, you know, he
Bobby?
Looks, yeah, Bobby's one of them guys who's still ageless and he still can go. But you also got to be careful too, because you know he's been injured a lot over the past couple of years. And so I definitely don't want to see him trying to keep up in that AEW style and him being out. But yeah, I definitely see him being a big star somewhere. To be honest with you, I see him being a big star in TNA. Now TNA still has a relationship with NXT, right? So if he were to go in TNA, I think it would be a natural spot for him, because I think the TNA style fits more of his style. And they can use like a tandem like a Bobby and an MVP.
Big fish in a smaller pond too there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yep. Like that, and that's my worry with him going to AEW is he'll be just another guy. I don't think they would present him the way he was presented in WWE, even when he wasn't pushed. Rhodesia, you made a comment a little bit ago during the show about Lashley and how he was pushed. He ain't been pushed in over a year. Last time they had creative plans for him was before WrestleMania. I think he's worked 5 matches this entire year on TV. He ain't been in their plan. So I can't say he's going to be missed because he hasn't really been utilized. What I will say is I continue to say I think it's just a missed opportunity. How we never had him in a Roman Reigns feud is beyond me. How they just haven't utilized him for how he looks and how he carries himself. He is money in the WWE cog. And I know he has already worked outside the company. He's done some really good things. It sucks. It sucks. This isn't like a killer for either, you know, him or the company. But you just look at it, it's like, damn, like they could have did more with him than what they did. So I am interested to see what he does. I'm glad to hear that like he still wants to compete, because I still think he's got a lot left in regards to working. He's gonna protect himself and work the right style of matches, which isn't like, it's not slow and plodding. He just got to be careful when he's out there if he's, you know, trying to do certain things. But I'm excited. You know, I would still be here if he was in AEW, but to your point, TNA may be that spot to be in, because they may be able to get more out of him. Like him going to TNA may be a bigger deal than him going to AEW. As crazy as that sounds, we just seen so many people that has gone to AEW, big deal, and then it's just not, and they're just a normal person. And I think he would be right there in that.
Last thing on that though, Matt, I don't think that you think about like the guys that Tony Khan pushes. I think he pushes people based on like if he likes their style of wrestling or not.
Oh, and the same thing. Go yes. Yeah.
And I don't think once he has Bobby, I don't think he will push him properly, because I think he's gonna book him based on like the matchups that he thinks he can have with them, right? I don't think that he sees dream matches with Bobby Lashley with a lot of the cast of wrestlers that he has.
Hobbs, Murdoch, Miro to a certain extent. He can't book bigger guys.
No, he just can't. And just those names you just said right there, the Warlow in there as well, like
Warlow.
Who you give anybody those 4 people you just said. And again, I'm about to be a hypocrite again, talking about how Vince always liked the big guys over the smaller guys. But you give me a cast with those 4 people, and you telling me in 2024, and you're competing against another network that none of those 4 guys are at the top.
Somebody's a monster baby face out of those 4, and somebody's a monster heel out of those 4.
Come on.
And now I'm building around that for sure. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, last thing when we can leave, and I know Rhodesia has a couple of things, man. This with Lance Archer. I would like to see Lance Archer in TNA too. Okay, he's an older cat too, but he still can go, and he has a certain style. I would love to see him in TNA/NXT. I think he would be great for those younger guys.
Yes.
I want to see him on the NXT. Right? Can you imagine seeing him on NXT roster doing his big man stuff?
That's where I would like him to go outside of anywhere else. Let him go to NXT where he can help teach, but he can still be his own guy and still do what he needs to do. And once again, he is a monster. He should be a monster heel.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And he can be just another missed opportunity.
I just have 4 quick things and we can get up out of here. While we were talking about TNA, here we have a new champion. So Nick Nemeth.
That boy Dolph Ziggler, right?
He is the new heavyweight champion. Kind of wish I would have watched Slammiversary. It's called Slammiversary, I think, right?
Yep.
I wish I could have watched it. I don't even know how we would have watched it. It's on Bleacher Report or something. I don't even know. But I think that would have actually been really good to see. Also, we have Jade and Bianca Belair. They're going to be on Hot Ones.
So you brought that up. You didn't want to ask us if we had any thoughts. You just once again you're just going to run through.
These are my 4 quick hits.
Great.
This is my 4 quick hits.
Awesome.
Would you like to add, Mr. Matt? Would you like to add anything to Nick Nemeth winning the World Heavyweight Championship of TNA?
I personally wouldn't, but we all know that that's one of E's favorite guys. So now that he has gold in TNA, I would
stop, Mr. Matt. So, Mr. Eshaun, would you like to have anything?
What do you think about that, E? Will that make you turn
every
Thursday
Mr. Matt, stop it.
At 9 p.m. and watch Mr. Nick Nemeth defend that title every single week? Is he a movie?
You say that, but actually, I will. Actually, I was trying to get Slammiversary. Then once I actually found it, it was almost halfway into. I'll try to find it the next day. I actually wanted to see that, and I'm actually happy for Dolph or Nick. Excuse me, he's Nick Nemeth. Nick. Even in the game, I got him as Dolph Ziggler. But I'm happy for him.
As bad as that name is, he's always gonna be Dolph.
But you know what? See, this is why we still need alternatives. And I said back in the day. Early in the show, I should say, we need alternatives because a Dolph Ziggler who wasn't being, used correctly on WETV, he can be a very valuable high asset somewhere else, right? Put him in a new environment with new opponents, and he's going to thrive. I think Bobby Lashley can do the same thing if given an opportunity. So I'm definitely very, very excited to do that. I am going to put TNA back in the rotation. I actually meant to watch it just recently. But I didn't even notice that my DVR stopped recording it, so I got to go back in and add it in there so I can get it back on the docket.
Dude, you gonna have
18 hours of wrestling to watch.
Yeah, of course you can. I know you'll fast forward. You're not watching much, if anything, live probably, but that's a lot, man. That's a lot.
Mr. Matt, may I move on to my other topic?
Of course you can move on.
Okay, thank you.
Sweetheart,
so
what you got?
So on Monday, July 22nd, we have the Hot Ones versus. So we'll have the beautiful, incomparable Miss Jade and Bianca Belair on Hot Ones. That should be a fun one. Would either one of you have any comments or commentary on them being on Hot Ones?
I got to tell you, I don't know what a Hot One is. I don't know what Hot One is.
The hot chicken wings. Have you ever seen one of those?
Oh, yeah, Cardi B and some of the female rappers was eating that.
Okay, so you've seen it, right?
Eating that.
Yeah, what is it? Is it like 10? Is it 10? Is it 10 levels? Can you remember?
I don't know the levels, but I just remember a couple of Cardi B and a couple others I saw. They got the wings, right? And they're interviewing them as they're eating these wings.
Yep, that's it.
And I thought about it, man, I probably wouldn't be able to eat these hot wings and talk at the same time.
Of course not.
Cardi was doing her thing. She's like, "Ooh, this is very hot." But to answer your question, I'm like, wow. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll go out of my way to watch that. But yeah, that should be pretty cool.
I hear that this one is supposed to be more of a truth or dare. So if you don't want to answer the question, then you got to eat it.
So I think there is 10 chicken wings. So they go, of course, from not as hot to super duper hot. And my man, the host, he's a piece of shit too, because you can tell he'll be eating them. They'll come back to him, he'll be fake chewing. It's like, dude, they dying for their life.
I don't see no sauce on your mouth.
So it is 10 levels of heat.
The Scoville levels.
How many could you guys do to where you think you would have to tap out? What number would
2.
be too high? You're like, okay, I can't do this anymore.
2.
I probably could have got to 3. So here's the thing, like, you know what I'm big into is I feel like it's mind over matter is a big thing for me. I feel like anything is putting your mind into it. Like this side nugget, right? And I know we're finishing up, but Matt used to like the greatest party. I thought they were great in his basement.
Everybody thought it was great, man. Thanks for the shout out. We used to kill it too. We used to have a hell of a time.
Them parties
we still do,
used to be
like,
so much fun. That's one of the things I miss about not being in Michigan, and then the fam not being in Michigan anymore. Like I miss those hangouts. And like I said, I really feel like I can see Tony Khan in the basement with us, just talking. Sometimes it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and we just in a circle, just talking and having random conversation. It was such a great time. And back then, that's what they got. Matt and Rhodesia and the fam was one that actually got me drinking, because I didn't start drinking until very late in my life, right? And so I felt so comfortable around them. So I was like, you know what? Even if I get a little too loose, I felt in a safe environment that I was good. So with that being said, we sitting here and we drinking till like 5, 6 in the morning until somebody got to go home, right? So I'm like, Rhodesia was like, hey, E, you ain't got to go. You can just sleep here, right? So normally it's on the floor or something like that. But you could we got to go. I got to pick up the kid, whatever. My wife would usually stop drinking much sooner than I would. But for some reason, she's too tired to drive. Being sleepy is worse than being drunk. So for
that
some
is true,
reason,
though. It's true. That's true.
I don't know. They keep saying that. So for some reason, I had to sober up and drive us safely home. And I always did. So mind over matter. So going back to these wings, I probably could go up to probably a 4 if I really, maybe even a 5 if I push myself. But I just don't see the appeal to eating food that's super hot like that. I just don't get, when it gets too hot, it does something to your tongue. I feel like it makes your tongue numb, and so now you can't even taste the chicken anymore.
Yeah,
right. So all you feel is just the heat.
That's it.
Yeah, all you feel is the heat from whatever the sauce. So I don't get why people even do it. If it's a challenge, I don't get the whole appeal to super hot food. I digress.
I think I could get to 6. I think I could do 6. And then
come on, I'm not gonna put you out there like that. 6. No,
I think I could do 6. Yeah. And then it would be okay. I can't do anymore. I definitely don't think I could get to 10.
No, nowhere. I think 6 might be a max if I really push myself, and I can only do it if it was a certain prize in hand, right? Like if hey, if you get to this, that's what I need. I need the motivation to.
I was going to say like some type of money or something, right? But then no, like if it's a certain amount, you would do all like whatever. My mouth is numb anyway. I don't care. Just keep bringing it. But I think if it was like nothing involved, but maybe like super bragging rights or something like that, a 6 is probably the highest.
So let me share a quick TMI situation I had years ago. I'm eating these wasabi peas. They came in this little aluminum bag. I'm killing them. They're good. They're a little spicy when they first come out. Killing them. I mean, like, I'm killing them. 1.5 days later, my whole digestive tract is burning. My booty hole is burning. Everything is just so painful. A day and a half later? Yeah, a day and a half. I'm so regular. This has been going way too much. I can digest food within 11 hours.
How about we just move on?
So what I'm saying is, if I got to number 3, that would to burn my esophagus. That would just burn everything that's inside of me.
All you had to say was, man, level 3 is about it for me. And then you just move right on to your next topic.
You ain't talk about content. Wait, time out.
I get you're
shit,
right, but
shit
that's
about
not
shit.
the type
so
of
no, wait,
content
but
we
it's
were
still
talking
shit.
about.
You stop.
Okay,
you said you wouldn't bring up content.
That's
just
true.
let me bring up content.
Okay.
Just sit there and wrap our show in a minute.
Okay.
And so then lastly, quick healing, speedy recovery. I didn't see the match, but I saw when it happened. But Sky Blue had an ankle, leg, foot injury when she was fighting Sheeta. I guess Sheeta had jumped over the top rope and kind of did crossbody and caught her. I guess that's where it happened. Match was called off right away. Did y'all get a chance to see the match and or when it happened?
I actually did. Actually,
how was it?
I actually watched Collision. I actually had on docket to talk about, but I wanted to cut it for a second. But I'm just looking at like that Collision show, and I get to that really quick. Like, man, like I don't know what they're doing with that Collision. if you look at the lineup they had for that collision, you know, you had the Bang Bang Gang versus the Patriarchy for the trios titles. That was
we got new
event.
champs, right?
You have
we have new champs.
You got new champions. The Patriarchy were crowned champions. Thunder Rosa versus Deanna. Darby Allin versus the Beast Mortos. You know,
okay. All right.
Darby Allin versus the Beast Mortos actually was a good match. Actually, was a pretty good match. Then you had Roger Strong versus Ishii. Sky Blue versus Shida, and then a dude named Hologram was made to be a big deal. Who
How was
I
he?
don't get why he was there.
Okay.
And so here's the thing, like I just don't believe, like I just don't know. Look, and shouts out to Tony Khan and AEW. I heard they're on the cusp of actually getting I think a new agreement was agreed to in was kind of agreed to that they're going to kind of go to. So shouts out to them if that's true. It was like just a matter of time before the
what do you mean
television deal.
Oh
TV
yeah, you
deal,
never. You were just like shout out to Tony. He was just agreeing. I was like, y'all sitting there talking about booty holes and agreeing. It's like this is just different now. Y'all are
on. If you could talk about the television, talk about the television setup. I can talk about the booty holes and wasabi peas.
Though, man, like.
But we talking about we talked about burning when Darby Allin and I forgot her name when they were driving home. Remember that episode like 20 we had, remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, that and we talking about Hot Ones with Jade and Bianca Belair. It's fitting. It fits to what we're talking about.
Guys, we just do stupid stuff around women. My man said he put the hot sauce in his ass. Why not? Just
and had like a 7-hour drive home. Like
So was the presentation. I know they're doing their summer series where they're in the building. I think it's like max 1,500 people.
Smaller. Yeah.
Did you feel? Did it feel better? Like outside of being able to watch Dynamite and knowing like, all right, there's only 2,000 people in the crowd or 3,000, and it's a 7,000 seat building.
I think it was shot pretty well. You couldn't really tell that it was in a small arena because they kind of shot it closer. Okay. You know, the way it kind of set up. And I felt like the collision stage itself was much bigger. I mean, it's probably due to how close they shot it. Because like when they would shoot to like the front of the ring, you can still see like this big old cage and stage with the red and yellow there. So hey, kudos to them because like I think that's like the noise was probably a little bit better, but
okay,
I had it on as kind of a background noise, so I couldn't super tell the difference. But the show itself, I just wanted to watch because like again, it was late at night and I actually didn't have anything else to watch. I'm like having some background music while I'm actually modding my game. So that's why I had it on. So to answer your question, Rhodesia, about the Sky Blue match, I saw it happen, and it didn't seem like it was anything reckless or I don't actually know what really happened that caused it. Maybe she just hit the wrong thing. And here's the thing about with wrestlers, right? Like it could have been a build of different things, right? It's almost like, for me, I kept blowing my back out, ooh, that sounds terrible. But I kept,
all right, man. You know what? I
have one more thing, but I don't even want to bring it up at this point.
The rest of your story don't even matter. The rest of your story, dude.
I think we should say bye to everybody.
The same way we saved that last question from the last show, we started with this one. Maybe for the next show, you can finish your story. But talking about blowing your back out on a Sunday night is nuts.
We gonna move forward. Yeah, but I don't know what happened to her side. But I hope that I haven't heard any feedback on the injury, if it's severe or not. But it didn't seem like it was anything that was crazy that happened.
Yeah, I thought it was actually like her arm or something because the way that the crossbody came in, but it's her ankle or her foot. It's something.
Yes, lower leg.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. Lower leg.
Yeah. I don't see where she twisted. Maybe the way she.
And the match ended instantly.
It did.
I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, it did. It's very instant.
Shout out to her. Hopefully she's good and she's not gone for too long. Mm-hmm. You don't want to see anybody get injured. So what else you got, Rhodesia? Is that it?
Her and just to lead off of that, Shida is going to be wrestling Dr. Britt Baker this Wednesday on Dynamite. So I want to add Blood and Guts, which is this Wednesday. I want to see how the story is going to be told in the match and kind of the outcome. There's no way Shida can win, but we'll see. We'll see. I think Shida's a good person to be in a ring with for Dr. Britt Baker to kind of
cut her hair too. She got a new look. When I saw
and it's like blonde
the promo
stuff,
shot, I was like, wow, I didn't even recognize that was her at first. So that's cool though. That's cool. All right, are we done? Are we finished or are we done?
We finished or are we done? After getting backs blown out, I think we done.
Man, that boy E Lord. Was like, shoot, we just want to talk about burning booty holes. I'm going to talk about my back being blown out.
Let's go.
Y'all some nasty ass niggas.
Let's go.
Hey, man, well, it's a wrap.
Hey, I'm not the N-word. Don't do that.
Stop. I said ninjas. You is a ninja.
No.
ass little ninja.
I'm a woman.
Follow us on Twitter at That's FNW.
Oh, Lord.
Follow us on YouTube at That's Freaking Wrestling.
What's going on this show?
The freaks listening, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Thank y'all for listening, watching us. Hey, if you were watching us on Twitter, I put this at the end so I don't get any pushback or blowback. We are probably not going to be going live on Twitter. We're probably going to go strictly to what we used to do, which is on YouTube and then on our audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that kind of stuff, 2 times a week. What we may do, though, later on this year, we were kind of testing, honestly, just to keep it all the way real. We were texting on X just to see what that looked like. I think I kind of got my data I was looking for. But what we may do when we do switch platforms later on this year is we may start going live on YouTube. So you'll still find us on YouTube every single week, twice a week. Still find us on all your favorite audio podcast platforms.
The universe don't like it.
That may be it. I know, right? The universe trying to cut us out. I just want to tell everybody because we had a couple messages about being on X. So there you go. We out of here. E about to go get his back blown out again. We love you, E.
Oh, shit.